I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, your go-to for those top stories from Israel. And you know, we do it every Monday to Thursday. And we're proudly brought to you by Lay of the Land. So let's get into our top stories. And we have all been waiting to see whether or not Prime Minister presumptive Benjamin Netanyahu will be able to form his government by the midnight deadline tonight. The incoming Prime Minister has to inform the President Herzog, whether or not he can form a majority coalition. Now, if so, he is expected to announce it just before the midnight deadline. Meanwhile, Politico, the political magazine in the United States, is reporting that the Biden administration intend to hold Benjamin Netanyahu personally responsible for the actions of some of the more extreme or far-right members of this new incoming coalition. I think here they are referring specifically to Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir. And it must be said that there are still many Israelis that are concerned about this potential government, a feeling that is shared by many around the world. Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he will do everything in his power to ensure Israel remains the democracy that it is, a sentiment echoed by the Jerusalem Post today, who have published a report saying that Israel is and will continue to be a robust democracy. Outgoing Defense Minister Benny Gantz says that Israel will hold onto the body of a deceased senior Fatah terrorist who passed away from cancer while in custody. This particular terrorist, whose name I will not give notoriety to, was one of the terrorists that was heavily involved in the infamous lynching in Ramallah in the year 2000. This is when two Israeli soldiers who had taken a wrong turn were disemboweled, tortured, and their bodies dragged through the streets. The defense minister says that they intend to hold on to his body as efforts to release two Israeli captives and the remains of two Israeli soldiers who fell in battle that are still being held captive by Hamas in Gaza. We have to remember the names of these civilians, Hisham al-Sayed and Avera Mengistu, who have been held in custody by Hamas terrorists. Just a couple of months ago, Hamas released a video of al-Sayed, who looked to be in failing health. Hamas are also holding the remains of two soldiers who fell during Operation Protective Edge in 2014, Oron Shaul and Hadar Golden. And despite many efforts to try and bring the remains of the two soldiers home so that they can receive a holy and a sacred burial, those efforts have amounted to naught. Meanwhile, earlier today, the families of both Shaul and Golden, as well as the families of captives Avera Mengistu and Hisham al-Sayed, met with His Holiness the Pope at the Vatican. The Pope has said he is committed to ensuring that he will do everything in his power to work for the release of the two civilians and the remains of the two soldiers. In response to Israel holding back the terrorist's body, Palestinians have called for an increase in resistance. Now, an LGBTQ plus organization called the Open House has extended an invitation to the leader of the Noam party, Avi Maoz, to attend Jerusalem Pride. Maoz, who is notorious for his homophobic comments and his declaration that he intends to do everything in his power to shut down Jerusalem Pride, has not given any indication whether or not he will respond to the invitation. The Open House have thanked him for helping to raise money because they have established a fund in his name and so far have raised 100,000 shekels. That's one way to deal with haters. And our final story takes us back to the Ukraine, and Israel has donated 17 generators to power hit Ukraine. As Russian bombardments continue, most of Ukraine is left in darkness without power, and Israel has sent 17 generators. In addition to this, Israel's embassy in Kyiv tweeted out earlier today that they had collected over 100 packages of food and whatever is needed for animals in shelters. Animals have been collected from all over war-torn Ukraine and gathered to safety, and we thank our embassy in Kyiv for all their efforts to ensuring the safety not just of Ukraine's human citizens, but the animals as well. And that brings me to the end of today's broadcast. Don't forget to check out our content on our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook community is at Lottel's site. Our YouTube channel is at The Israel Brief, and we're on Twitter at layoftheland5. I'm Rolene Marks. This is The Israel Brief, and we'll check in with each other tomorrow before we head into the weekend.